Question number 10 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 5. As used in line 93, becoming most nearly means. Okay, so this is a vocab question in context. As always, identify the word in the text. Read surrounding the text, find context to understand what the definition of the word means. Replace that word before you look at the answer choice with your own words, your own definitions, your own phrases, your own associations, and then replace the word in the sentence with every answer choice A, B, C, D of the question, and see which one doesn't change the original meaning of the sentence at all. That's it. So the young man had never for 1 second deserted Mr. Peters. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters' elbow, making him do things that were not becoming in a man of 45. Not becoming. It means that they weren't acceptable for a man of 45. They were not becoming. It's like a very nice British way of saying it wasn't acceptable. Making him do things that were not becoming, not acceptable. So becoming here, notice how oh yeah, he's becoming a world famous athlete. He's emerging. It means that you're budding. You're this emerging star. Realize that that's the association that you'd expect for becoming, but that we're not talking about him emerging into being anything. Making him do things that were not emerging in a man of 45. What does that mean? Not becoming just means not acceptable. That's like the word that I would think. No, it's not. We're not emerging from anything. Fitting. Oh, maybe. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters. This is talking about the young urge inside of him. Making him do things that were not fitting, not acceptable. They weren't fitting. They weren't proper for a man of 45. I like that. I like fitting. Becoming, developing. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters' elbow, making him do things that were not fitting. Developing. Excuse me. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters' elbow, making him do things that were not developing. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters' elbow, making him do things that were not developing in a man of 45. They were not developing? I don't know what that means. Developing means it's unfurling or growing or emerging in a way. Notice on how emerging and developing kind of mean the same thing. Emerging means coming out of or growing into something, and developing means that it's growing or changing and becoming something. I don't like how A and C mean the same physical thing. Always look out for that. See how similar answer choices are, because if answer choices are similar, neither can be the right answer. As used line 93, becoming most nearly means happening. He was always there, tugging at Mr. Peters' elbow, making him do things that were not happening in a man of... They were not happening? Again, I feel like happening is very similar to becoming. It's oh, things are happening right now. And we really need to talk about the word becoming. This is a very British use of the word. That it's not acceptable. They were not fitting. They were not becoming. They don't show well. They're not accepted in a man of 45. So the answer number 10 is going to be B. All the other answer choices, not only I feel like are too physical, they all talk about this idea of something's growing or emerging or it's unfurling before our eyes. It doesn't match the connotation that we need in this case that shows on how these things are not acceptable for this man to do at the age of 45. The answer to number 10 is going to be B.